Okay, so this is a full walkthrough of the EK9 Civic Type R interior, picking out some of the differences between the base model and this pre-facelift Civic Type R. Some of this is going to be specific to the pre-facelift EK9, but there isn't a lot of differences between the pre-facelift and the facelift EK9. But today, hopefully, we're going to learn the differences between the base model UK spec EJ9s and this EK9 that we have in front of us. Working our way from top to bottom, starting off with the most important part, I think, of this interior, the seats. So the seats in these EK9s are the SR3 Recaros, which come in the EK9 and the DC2. They're made from an Alcantara suede, or it's a Perlon velour fabric. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but as you can see here, the bolsters and the main body of the seat are what I believe to be this Alcantara material, and then the centres are this perforated material. Super simple rails on them, just a little leg adjustment there. These also have a seatbelt light buckle, so if you don't plug in, it shows up a light on the dash. Just super comfy seats. As you can see, these bolsters are a little bit worn, but you can purchase new parts for these quite easily. You can see the black suede there. Now, this is where you would put harnesses through. Super simple adjustment knob on the side of the seats to adjust the rake. Black stitching of the Recaro badge. Fold forwards to get in the back. Again, same fabric all the way around. Just having a better look at the overall of the seat now. Perforated material does tend to get little pulls and snags in it, which is very annoying. So you do have to be quite careful with these seats. And then you can see the black stitching there. Really nice seats. One of my favourite parts about these cars. Definitely the most memorable part for most people with the interior. For cleaning of these seats, obviously you can buy products online, but I actually used white vinegar and that got the stains out really well from the red suede. Next up is the steering wheel, which is exactly the same steering wheel in the Civic Type R and the Integra Type R. Also, this steering wheel is in the Accord Type R, and it's very, very similar to the steering wheel in the Ferrari 550 Maranello, also made by Momo, just some slight tweaks with the horn buttons right where your thumb sit. Obviously, this one is starting to look quite tired, but it's a nice feeling steering wheel. Not quite as nice as the EP3 Civic Type R steering wheel, but yeah, obviously it comes with an airbag as standard. Moving forwards now into the Speedo. Sitting around the gauges here, you've got this hydro-dipped bezel. Looks class. You've got the yellow needles. Again, that differs from the base models. Revs all the way to 10,000 RPM, 180 kilometers per hour. This one has been converted to miles per hour, and then the standard fuel and temperature gauge. I did do another video how to create your own homemade replica type Speedo, just because these are an awful lot of money now. But yeah, really nice piece in these Civic Type Rs. Now we're on to the centre console. Now this is that same hydro-dipped plastic that you saw on the speedometer. No clock. It's got the clock delete with the badge, which all Civic Type Rs come with. You can see the slight warping in the hydro dipping there, which happens with hydro dipping. Again, I did do another video on how to create your own one of these, because again, these are a lot of money and they're hard to get hold of, but this is what they're meant to look like. Now, the facelift EK9s and the pre-facelift EK9 do have completely different centre consoles. If you have a look at my other videos, I've got a video breaking down the complete differences so you can understand better what you're looking for. Now, the coin pocket vent to the right of the steering wheel, this come on all JDM, EKs, EJ9s, whatever, not just specific to the Type R. It's just interesting how we didn't get this on our base models. Don't really understand why. Maybe it's for like tolls over in Japan or something like that. Okay, so now we are looking at the red carpet that comes in the EK9s. Both the facelift and the pre-facelift both come with the same shade of red. Again, gets really easily marked just like the seats do. quite a coarse material, not as soft as like the EJ9 ones, which are quite a fluffy grey. And then obviously you've got the black, which comes in the EK4. The EK9 carpets do command quite a lot of money. I've sold them anywhere between £150 and £350, depending on condition. The one that's in this car is okay, but it has got a few marks and a few holes here and there. Now, moving forward from there, we're starting to look at the mattes. Now, there are two different shades of red between the facelift and the pre-facelift. I believe there might be a slight difference in the weave as well. Not 100% sure. You can see here, this one here has a bit of damage where it hooks into the car, just obviously from slipping back and forth. These EK9 mattes also do have a Civic Type R emblem, which you can see here on the passenger side. It had just come off of the driver's side, which is quite common. Now, these emblems, they're not actually plastic, they are metal, and it seems to be on the back of them, they've got some sort of like rivet weld or something like that normally holds them in place. And then at the back seats, we have these three mats with the connecting middle mat. Obviously on the EJ9s, you don't have that, you just have the two separate rear mats. I personally normally have a mat which sits on top of my driver's mat just to keep it nice, but the rest of them are okay. Now we're looking at the back seats, which are specific to the EK9. They've got that same material cloth that the fronts have, but this time in black. No headrests on these. Some EJ9s come with them, some EK3s come with them, some didn't. If you're putting EK9 rear seats into an EJ9 or an EK3, you do have to swap the framework from them. It's a whole thing in itself, which I probably need to explain in another video. But really nice back seats, really clean. It was actually one of the first mods I ever did was put in EK9 rear seats into my facelift EJ9 and really made a big difference to the back of the car. Now, EK4s obviously have black back seats, but they have a patterned material. And then EJ9s obviously have grey back seats with, again, a different pattern. You can see here a little close-up of the bolster and how it sits. Now, also on the EK9s, they have this centre plastic bit which sits around the handbrake, which is like an armrest delete if you had an armrest, or it's an ashtray delete. Just much slimmer looking, same as the DC2s. Looks really nice. And then the handbrake's also got this grey plastic button on the end of it, which again is a tiny little difference, but looks nice. You can see here, no ashtray at the rear. And we're looking forwards now towards the gear knob. Now, there's different options for cup holders. My one has the pop out with the little flap, which is meant to come up, but the spring is knackered in mine. Some of them also come with one which pops out, which didn't have the cover. And in the facelift EK9s had one which is like a big bucket with two cup holders permanently in it. I'll add a little picture at the end of the video of that one. Now, this is an EK9 RX shift boot. All EK9s didn't come with this, just the RX, but I've decided to fit it in my pre-facelift. And sitting on top of that, we've got the titanium shift knob. You can see here the red stitching. Now, the titanium shift knob, it normally has a little yellow inlay with some red, but mine's just worn out. And then you've got this little stainless steel nut that holds it in place. The door cards, exactly the same as EK4 ones with that black plastic, just with that Recaro red fabric. Obviously, EJ9 door cards are grey, but we'll go into that in a minute. Commonly, the armrests get blown through on the elbows. People put holes in them. But yeah, just the black plastic is the only main difference. So between the EK9s and the EJ9s, there is quite a big difference in interior colour. Now, this shot here, you're going to see one of the little panels there is a very light grey right there. Now, that's from an EJ9, which is a Type K dark grey interior, whereas the EK9s have a Type A black/red interior. And that's for the lower plastic. So you can see they're all black with the single point adjustment there highlighted. But on the upper plastic, so the bit around the A pillars, the light on the roof, some visors, they're all a dark grey, the same as the EK4, whereas the EJ9s are more of a cream. Which you can see where the sun visor clips in there is actually a light grey from an EJ9, because this EK9 was built from bits somewhat. Now, it's hard to appreciate with the light on it here how much darker the upper plastics are, but it does make quite a big difference. And now, just coming back onto them sun visors, you can really see how light them clips are in comparison. And here, this cigarette ashtray bit is way lighter because I've had to nick it from an EJ9 because my EK9 one was broken. So just a nice view from the back now, looking into the car. Now we're going to be looking at the boot space. Not a hell of a lot of differences, but one thing to note straight away is this is an EJ9 parcel shelf. EK9 ones, EK4 ones are black, and specifically the EK9 ones don't have this little string, whereas EJ9 ones, EK4 ones do. Not sure why. Now this is a genuine EK9 boot carpet. It looks a bit grey in the picture just because it's old and it's being shone with a bright light. But you can see the black stitching is very thick, and that shows that it's an EK9 one versus an EJ9 one. Not a massive difference. It's just nerding out about them a little bit. Now, looking at the seat belts, obviously they've got the dark grey plastic buckles on them. But the main difference between the EJ9 UK spec and the EK9 is the front seat belt was a single point attachment at the bottom, whereas EJ9's obviously that bar that goes across, so kind of twin point attachment is what I like to call them. You can see I'm missing a cover there. But that's about it for the seat belt. It's pretty self-explanatory and simple. You can see that where it ties in. And then obviously a few bits of Japanese writing and stuff like that. So you can see the genuine EK9 rear plastic there without the hole. Now we're looking at the pedals. The pedals are exactly the same between EJ9s, EK4s, EK9s, whatever. Unless you've got an EK9 RX, which come from factory with a metal pedal with little black rubber dots on it. Now here we're looking at the footrest, which come as standard in the EK4s and EK9s. I'm not sure if it was an optional extra on EJ9s. I've not come across one yet, but I know obviously we're going to talk about at the end of this video a little bit the vast Honda Access stuff and all the different bits you can get. A little bit of a weird one. The ignition barrel is different on JDM cars. It's got no ring around it for the sensor to pick up because they haven't got an immobiliser. Also, the indicator stalk is on the opposite side, and obviously it hasn't got a rear wiper function on it because we didn't have that on the EK9s, but we did have that on the EK4s and the EJ9s, so bit annoying if you break one because you've got to get one from an EK9. Now obviously there was plenty of optional extras for the Hondas. Some of them were applicable to the EK9, some of them weren't. Obviously it was model dependent. You can see here the option for different strut braces on the bottom right, upgraded suspension on the left there, which I know is applicable to EK9. And then on this page here, you can see things like gold emblems, mud flaps, etc. Never actually seen them on an EK9. Then here you can see the options for pedal covers, manual, automatic, armrests that slide forwards, things I've never actually seen. Definitely going to try and get my hands on one of these catalogues and use a translator to understand fully what's there. Now on this page you can see top left an air purifier unit, which I have seen on some EK9s, which replaces that centre light. There's also different sunglasses holders that go in the middle, some that go at the front. So many options, just very rarely seen. It seems that getting hold of some of these Honda Access parts these days is a little bit like gold dust, but I'm going to include some images at the end. Okay, so that's it for this video. If there's anything I got wrong or I haven't quite understood properly from my own research, do let me know, because it'll be interesting to find out more about the EK9 and EJ9 differences and more about these Honda Access parts. I'd be really interested to know.